Are you looking for an easy way to cover up the edge of a plywood piece? Well, in today's video, I'm showing you just that. I am showing you how to use iron-on edge banding to cover the edge of plywood. We're going to cover up this edge of the plywood because it's not ideal. Most edges have some little divots in it, and you have different layers of the plywood pieces that are glued together. This is actually a better plywood than you normally find at the hardware store, so this one is a little bit better of a finish than most. This is actually cabinet grade plywood, so some of the other ones are a little bit sadder than this, but we're going to talk about how to cover this up easily. So you're going to need some tools to go with this. Your edge banding. And you'll want the iron-on one. There's other ones as well, but I recommend the iron-on one. It's super easy. This is in maple. It comes in different types, so it depends on how you're finishing your wood. So if you are going to be staining it, then you want to make sure that you get the same type as your wood itself, which I thought I was going to be staining this, so I got the maple to go with mine, but I'm going to be painting it, so it doesn't really matter for me. There's also white ones that can be painted, so just be mindful of that. Make sure that you're getting the type of banding that you need. And this is a veneer, so it's a very thin piece of wood that you're going to be adding. Let me show you what that looks like. Here is that veneer that we're talking about. It's super, super thin, and you can tell it has this iron-on backside. I don't know if you can see that in the video. But there's also different sizes that this comes in. Because I'm just using 3/4 inch plywood, I just needed this one, which was 13/16 of an inch. But if you do have a thicker board that you want to cover, they do come in thicker pieces as well. Another thing that you're gonna need is obviously your iron. I have mine plugged in and heating up right now. Now, when I've used this before, I've just used a razor blade, so it's a very sharp razor blade, brand new in here, that I have used before. But this time I wanted to try this little tool, and this is made for edging, to apply this edge banding. And so it has this little razor right in here. I don't know if you can see that, and right here. So that way you'll just clamp it down slightly and run it through. And we're going to use both of these because this one is the inexpensive, really easy. Well, not as easy. We'll just say it's inexpensive because you probably have a razor blade on hand. So if you have that on hand, then I recommend using it. But if you want to go a step up, then we're going to try this because I haven't used it before, but the razor blade can be a little touchy, so we're gonna try this guy just to see the difference. And then also, these are just a flat nose pliers just to give me a clean, crisp cut at the edge. So let's do this. So step number 1 is making sure that your iron, I don't know if you can see that, is set to the cotton setting. So that's where you want it to heat to, is your cotton setting on your iron. Next, you are going to take the edge banding and you're going to place it on top of your board, and then you're going to cut it so it's a 1/2 inch longer than what you actually need. So here we go, cutting that, and then we're going to iron that on to the actual board. Now, quick tip here. If you are using the razor blade, I recommend trying to put one edge of this edge banding on the edge of the plywood piece, because then you're only having to cut the other edge and not both edges. With this tool that we're going to be using, because I want to try that first, I'm going to put it more in the center. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to hurry and just iron this guy on. So I just quickly put it on. I want to make sure that the glue is melting, and it is. So I'm just going to keep going down the length of this board. I do like to run over the edging a couple times, making sure that it is fully glued into place before I go to cut it. And I also let it fully cool before I go to cut it. I forgot to mention that I also like to, after I have ironed it and while it's cooling, I like to press down the edges just to make sure that it is completely adhering to the wood. Now that it's cooled, we're gonna take this tool and run it along the edge to see how it does. So we're just placing it in these grooves right here and then just slightly pressing so that way it's gonna be the same size as the plywood piece. And now I'm just gonna run it along this edge. And just like that, I have the finished edge. Now, I did this side already, and so I'm going to show you with the razor blade the difference in this. So, what you have to do here, if you can see this, is you have to take the razor blade and you're going to start it and then put it so it's flush with the board and run it along. And if you notice, this is not as easy as that tool was. That tool cost about $20, just so you kind of have an idea if that's something that you want to go for. But I'm going to hurry and just kind of show you the difference in the edges too. So here is the edge that I just did, and here is the edge with that tool. And I'm gonna hurry and use the tool for the rest of this because that was so much easier. So if you're doing a lot of banding, edge banding, I'm gonna recommend this tool because that was so much easier. Now I'm gonna hurry and cut off the ends to give me a smooth edge, and then I'll put more banding on this side. These pliers are special pliers. They have a little bit of a groove on the back side. So what you're gonna do when you go to cut this is you're gonna make sure that that edge is flush with your board, and then I'm going to snap it. And that gave me a nice, clean, smooth edge. After everything's installed, you're gonna use sandpaper, and I like to use 220 grit, just a fine sandpaper, to just quickly go over the edges and give you nice, smooth, clean lines. So here is the edge that's sanded, and then an edge that's not sanded. So I'm going to finish sanding all these and then I'll show you the difference. Okay, so here's the difference. Edging, no edging. So edge banding and no edge banding. See how it completely finishes the wood, even around the edges.